October 22nd. Chihuahua, the thing in the circle suggested. Just for laughs. Nope, I answered. Language barrier. Come on, it said. I'm almost strong enough to break out of here on my own now. It won't go well for you if you keep me until I do. Almost, I said, isn't good enough. It growled. I growled back. It flinched. I was still in control. The thing in the steamer trunk had become a lot more active too, glaring at me through its aperture. We had to install a sliding bar on the wardrobe in the attic, and the thing there had succeeded in breaking the latch. But I drove it back again. I was still in control there, too. I went outside then, checking for the focus of interference. Finding nothing, I walked over to Larry's place, intending to bring him up to date on everything and to see what news he might have. I halted as it came into sight. The Enderby coach was parked out front, the heavy man beside it. Had I let this go on for too long? What might the great detective find so fascinating here that it warranted a return visit? Nothing I could do now, of course. I turned and walked back. When I reached the neighborhood, I found Greymalk waiting in my yard. Snuff, have you been calculating? Only in my head. I think it might be easier to work this one out from a vantage. What vantage? Dog's nest, I said. If you're interested, come on. She fell into step beside me. The air was damp, the sky was gray. A wind gusted out of the northwest, and we passed Owen's place. Cheater chattered at us from a branch. Odd couple, he called. Open her closer. We did not respond. Let the divination have their day. It's an odd curse you are under, Greymalk remarked after a long while. Say rather, we are the keepers of a curse. Perhaps more than one. If you live long enough, these things have a way of accumulating. How did you know of it? Jack said something of it to the mistress. How strange. It's not usually a thing we speak of. There must be a reason. Of course. So, you've been present at more than one? You've played the game many times? Yes. Do you think he may be trying to persuade her to change her orientation? Yes. I wonder what it would be like. We passed Rastoff's place, but did not stop. On the road later, McCab went by, a stick in his hand. He raised it as he neared, and I snarled at him. He lowered it and muttered a curse. I'm used to curses. No one can tell when I smile. We continued on to the countryside, coming at length to my hill. There we climbed to the place of fallen and standing stones. Southward of us, the black clouds rumbled and glared above the good doctor's house. The winds were stronger at this height, and as I paced a circle, a small rain began to descend. Greymalk crouched on the dry side of a block of stone, watching me as I took my sightings. Out of the southwest, I took my line from a distant graveyard, extending to it all of the other points in residence or in view or in mind. Then, from the place where lay the Count's remains, I did it again. In my mind, I beheld a new design. This pulled the center away from the mansion, downward, southward, passing us, coming to rest ahead, slightly to the left. I stood stock still, the rain forgotten as I worked it out, repeating the process, line by line, seeking that center shift, positing where it had to fall. Something's wrong, I muttered. What is it? I don't know. It's just not right. In the past, there's always been at least interesting, acceptable candidates. What I see is nothing, just a dull stretch of field to the south, a little bit to the west. All of the other candidates have also been wrong. No matter how interesting. She mounted a nearby stone. Where is it? Over there, I pointed with my head, to the right of those 5 or 6 trees. You're right, it doesn't look particularly promising. Are you sure you calculated correctly? Double-checked. She returned to her shelter again as the rain suddenly grew more forceful. I followed her. I suppose we should visit it. After this lit up, of course. She began licking herself. I just thought of something, she said. The Count's skeleton. Was that big ring he wore still on his finger? No, I said. Whoever did it in doubtless collected it. Then somebody's probably doubly endowed. Probably. That would make him stronger, wouldn't it? Only in technical prowess. It might make him more vulnerable, too. Well, the technical end of things counts for something. It does. Do the games always get confusing at this point? Do they mess up the players' thinkings? Ideas? Values? Always. Especially as events began to cascade and accelerate near the end. We create a kind of vortex about us just by being here and doing certain things. Your confusion may trip you up. Somebody else's confusion may save you. You're saying that it gets weird, but it all cancels out? Pretty much, I think. Till the end, of course. There came a flash of light from nearby, followed by an instant crack of thunder. The good doctor's storm was spreading. Abruptly, the wind shifted. We were drenched by the sudden pelting. We bounded away across, immediately into the shelter of a much larger stone. Sitting there, miserable in the special way that wetness brings, my grace and my gaze suddenly fixated upon the side of the stone. There, brought out perhaps by the moisture, were scratchings and irregularities. Now they appeared to be something more than that. I hope the whole gang of them appreciate all this trouble, she said. Nylathrop, Cthulhu, all the rest of the unpronounceables. Makes me wish I had a nice simple job catching mice for some farmer's wife. Yes, they were characters in some alphabet that I didn't know. Incised there, worn faint, emphasized suddenly as the trickling water darkened the stone in some places, bringing out contrasts in others. Even as I watched, they seemed to be growing clearer. And then I drew back, for they began to glow with a faint red light. They continued to brighten. Snuff, why are you standing in the rain? Then her gaze moved to follow my own. Oh, I think they heard me! Now they were ablaze, those letters. They began to flow as if reading themselves. Excess light formed into a high rectangular perimeter about them. It was only joking, you know. The interior of the rectangle took on a milky light. Part of me wanted to bolt and run, but another part stood fascinated at the process. Unfortunately, it was the latter part that seemed to be in control. Greymalk stood like a shadowy statue, staring. Deep within it came a roiling, I suppose it must be called a premonition. For suddenly, that other part of me was in control again. I sprang forward, seized Greymalk by the nape of her neck with my teeth, and sprang away to the right. Just as I did, a flare of lightning sprang from the rectangle and fell upon the area we had occupied but moments before. I stumbled, feeling a small shock, feeling my hair rise. Greymalk railed, and the air smelled of ozone. I guess they're kind of touchy. I felt the wind swirling about us, 10 times stronger than it had been earlier. I tried again to get to my feet and was again knocked down, this time by a lightning bolt that might not be imminent. Instead, a faint outline hanging there, like a silver key. I crawled near Greymalk. The wind increased in intensity. Somewhere a voice came chanting, La Shibanograth! Black goat of the wood and 1,000 young! What's happening? Someone opened a gate to provide a means for expressing their disapproval of your remark, I suggested. That's done now, but the door hasn't swung shut yet. That's what I think. She leaned against me, back arched, ears flat, fur arisen. The wind stronger still, it was pushing us now, near the point of irresistibility. I began to slide across the ground in the direction of the gate, dragging her with me. I have a feeling it'll close too late, she cried. We're going through. She turned then and leapt upon me, clinging with all four paws onto my neck. Her claws were very sharp. "We mustn't separate." "Agreed," I choked, and began sliding faster. I was able to gather my feet behind me, and we moved. Rather than being pushed through willy-nilly, some measure of grace might provide a survival edge. It was easy to stop thinking of it as a rock wall now that we were approaching it, for there were obvious depths to it, no clear features presented, and the image of the key had already faded. What lay beyond, I'd no idea. That we were going through, I'd no doubt. Better a little dignity then. Straightening my legs, I leapt forward, into the breach, into the mist, into the silence. Imminently, as we passed through, the sounds of wind and rainfall ceased. We did not come to rest on a hard surface or any other surface. We were suspended in a place of pearl-gray light. If we fell, there was no sensation of falling. My legs were still extended forward and back as if I were leaping a fence. And while many other eddies and currents faint as high clouds, all of it playing about us, my sense of motion was paradoxical. That is, by turning my head in any direction, I could create the feeling of pursuing a different vector. I did turn my head to the rear, just in time to see the rectangle fade behind us. Greymalk gave a little wail, then looked about. "It is important we not be parted here." "You know where we are?" I asked. "Yes, and I'm sure I will land on my feet, but I don't know about you. Let me move around onto your back. We'll both be more comfortable that way." She worked her way about my neck then, finally settling into a position behind my shoulders. She did retract her claws as she settled. "Where are we?" "I see now that something tried to help me as we were being swept forward. This is not of a piece with the lightning stroke, but the way was opened, and he seized it as a means of rescue. Possibly there's even more than that. I'm afraid I don't understand you." "We're in the place between our dream world and our home now." "You have been here before?" "Yes, but not right here recently." "It feels as if we could drift forever." "I suppose we could." "How do we go ahead or back?" "My memories of this part are all scattered. If we don't like where we find ourselves, we withdraw and we try again. I will try now. Call me if anything too unnatural occurs." There came a brightening from overhead. Nothing as patent as a single light source, but an incredible contrast to the darker area below my feet. I'd resolved not to address her barring emergencies until she spoke, but I studied that light. There was something familiar about it. From the driftings and the awakenings, I realized it to be an outline, as on a map. Something like a continent or an island, perhaps two or more, hanging in a streaky distance overhead. It did peculiar things to my orientation, and I struggled to alter my physical relationship to it. I moved my legs and I twisted, trying to turn my body so as to look downward rather than up at it. It was almost too easy, for there followed an immediate turning. The view became clearer. Greymalk began to mutter then, a flat, affectless tone. "To the west of the southern sea lie the Balsat pillars, beyond the sea of Carthia. East, the coast is green, home of the fisher's town." As she spoke, we came even nearer. My attention was taken from the soft spot along the coast of the sea. These features somehow magnified across distances. "Dialath Lean," she mused, "where the wide-mouthed traders and the strange turbans come. There, the perfumed jungle of Keld." Oh, we moved steadily closer as she spoke, drifting now over vast regions. Bright yellow, green. Bahara is 11 days from sailing. The village of North, among the peats of Throck, the slimy doles burrow among the mountains of bones. There is Ung in low domes, a stop on the way to Enoch, and Enoch itself a terrible place near the waste of Lang. There is Scarmon beyond the long plateau. We drifted even lower now. It was as if I could hear the winds that blew between the worlds as she continued her litany of the dream world geography. On the way to Cadith, we crossed the terrible wasteland of Leng, where the great windowless monastery surrounds the monoliths. And there dwells the high priest of dream world, his face hidden by a yellow silk mask. His building is older than history, bearing frescoes of the story of Leng. Barely human creatures dance amid the gone cities. The war with the purple spiders, the landing of the black galleys from the moon, the rose crystal palace of 70 delights, whence he has called. And so we walked towards it. It was as if part of me normally awake were sleeping and part of me normally asleep was awake, a reversal of which led to an easy acceptance of wonder, to the easy forgetting of day-long movements. Drawing near, Grey Malk said, "Hail, high-purring one." "Grey Malk, daughter. Hello. Rise, please." The only other living thing in sight, sunning itself on a terrace before the palace, head upraised, regarding us. Grey Malk led us to it. An ancient cat, laying on a square of black onyx. "I believe I felt your presence at the end of time at the Elder's Wrath. Thank you." "Yes. I've been watching for all of your month." "You know why?" "I do." He turned his head, antique yellow eyes meeting my own. I lowered my head out of respect for his venerability, and because Grey Malk obviously regarded him as someone of great importance. "You come in the company of a dog." "Snuff is my friend," she said. "He pulled me out of a well, cast me back from the Elder One's lightning." "Yes, I saw him move you when it fell, right before I decided to call you here." "He is welcome. Hello, Snuff." Hello, sir," I answered. Slowly the old cat rose to his feet, arched his back, stretched low, and righted himself. "Times are complicated right now. You have entered an unusual design. Come, walk with me. Daughter, I may impart a small wisdom concerning that final day. Some things seem too small for the Great One's regard, and a cat may know this thing which the elder gods do not." She glanced at me. Since few can tell when I am smiling, I nodded my head. They strolled along into the terrible temple itself. I wondered whether somewhere an ancient wolf in a high, craggy palace was watching us, always alert. His only message, keep watching Snuff, always. I could almost hear a timeless growl from places beneath thought. I sniffed about, waiting. It was hard to tell how long they were gone in a place like this without time. But it followed that it shouldn't seem to take too long. Nor did it. When I saw them emerge, I wondered again at the strangeness which had paired me in friendship with an opener, and a cat at that. Coming up to me, I saw Grey Malk was almost disturbed, at least puzzled, by the way she raised her right paw and regarded it. "This way now," the old one stated. He looked at me as he said it, so I knew I was included in the invitation. "In here," he told us, and we followed him into a darkened recess, which held a temple postern. Beside it, a less substantial door quivered on the crystal wall. A churning milkiness began writhing, and suddenly an apparent rectangle was there, and we approached. When we came up before it, he turned to me. As you have been a friend to one of my own, I would give you a boon of knowledge. Ask me anything." "What does tomorrow hold for me?" I asked. He blinked once. "Blood. Seas and messes of it all around you. And you will lose a friend. Go now through the gate." Grey Malk stepped into the rectangle and was gone. "Thanks, I guess," I said. "Carpe baculum," he added, as I followed, somehow knowing that I recalled a bit of my Latin, doubtless some obscure cat laugh, out of telling me to go fetch a stick in a classical language. You get used to little digs from cats, being a dog, though. I thought their boss might be above that sort of thing. Still, he is a cat. He probably hadn't seen a dog in a long time and just couldn't resist. "Et cuitus spiritu tuo," I replied, moving forward. "Benedicte," I heard his distant response as I drifted again. "What was that business at the end?" Grey Malk called back to me. He gave me a quick quiz on my Virgil. "Why?" "No idea. He's inscrutable, remember?" Suddenly, she wavered within another rectangle. It was odd. Watching her go two-dimensional, then she rippled in a certain way. Then she turned into a horizontal line, and its end collapsed completely upon the middle. And she was gone. When my turn came, it didn't feel that complicated, though. I joined her atop Dog's Nest before the block of stone, which was again just a stone with some scratches on it. The sun was further into the west, but the storm was over. I turned into a circle. No one was sneaking up from any direction. There's still enough time to check that spot we located. "Let's save it for tomorrow. I'm late in making my rounds." "All right." We headed homeward. I thought about the old cat's boon, but that wasn't until tomorrow. "Dog napery is a lot less lush than yours," I said. "What's it like?" "I'm back in the primal wood with an old wolf named Growler. He teaches me things." "If there are any zogs about," she said, "we passed over your wood to the west of the River Shy. It's below the Gate of Deeper Slumber." "Maybe," I said, thinking of the small brown creatures who lived off the oaks and fed on the fungi. Growler laughed at them, as he did most things. The clouds purpled in the west, and our paws grew damp from the grasses. Blood and messes. Perhaps tonight I could use a review. Tonight, Growler and I would ramble, till we fought, and I was beat.